So now that we've covered the foundations, we're gonna get to the fun part, which are the moves, right? So for the very first one we're gonna do is just gonna be a very basic toreando pass if I'm able to beat the frame, right? So generally there's a lot of different stances that my partner can do. Sometimes he can be forward like this, reaching with his hands. Sometimes his legs are in front of his hands. Sometimes they're angled when one hand's posted, they'll be like this, okay? But generally the most standard, they're gonna be like this, right? Their legs are in front of their arms a little bit. So like we talked about, I'm always gonna control what's closer to me or what's overextended. So generally we're gonna be doing in this series, the start is with the leg, and then later we will review other options later with the different types of body positionings. So just like before we talk about our stance, okay, if you notice I have good stance here. Generally, if I can choose the grip that I want to begin with, I like to have the leg, okay? Because once I have the leg, I can already start to create my angles, right? So when I get the leg here, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab right on the inside of his pants. I could grab to the outside a little bit, but I feel like this just takes a little bit more adjusting. So generally the easier grip for me to get is the 4 fingers inside right in the kind of the cuff grip here at the end of the pants. And then when I get this grip, I'm gonna follow through with the collar, okay? So once I get the collar, I'm gonna grab right around the collarbone area. The reason why I like to grab around the collarbone area is because this is the feeling period. Before we talked about the front door, the back door, I'm kind of feeling where his body positioning is at. So I can frame him a little bit just to see what type of body position he has, right? This allows me to feel the position. So when I get here, okay, and I get this grip, I can feel, okay, I feel like he can move back a little bit. So what I'm gonna do is when I make this grip, I'm immediately I can push a little bit to create my angle. Once I cut my angle, let's turn here. Once I cut my angle, I'm gonna be aiming for my head to his far shoulder, just like we talked about before. Whenever I pass to the side, to my left, I wanna be aiming with dropping my left shoulder, my head in that far shoulder. So as I go here, I'm gonna just drive my head to his shoulder. I'm gonna be pulling with everything that I have, look. And as I'm here, I'm not gonna be pushing his back to the ground. I'm gonna be putting my weight into him, pulling myself, look, getting to the side. Now, if you notice, if my head's in the perfect spot on his shoulder, look how perfect my body positioning is to land in side control. When I get my shoulder here on his chest and my face, the side of my face on his shoulder, look how easily I can land here in the side control, right? It's really important that when I do the move, I'm not over his shoulder. If I'm like this, I'm gonna be off balance. Maybe he can pull me over him, and I'm not gonna feel like I have the most control of my weight. So when I'm here, and I make my steering wheel grips, and I cut the angle, I feel he's leaning back, or I feel like if I punch him, he can go back. I maneuver to the side, look, I'm pulling, and I'm driving my forehead, even the side of my face, to his shoulder. And look how naturally my shoulder drops, and then I can go to my toes and to my knees, right? At all times, I'm on my toes. I'm never flat-footed here, okay? My knees will not go to the ground before my head gets to his shoulder. That's also important to understand. You'll never see me do this, then this, because when my knees go to the ground, my weight's on the ground, not my partner. All my weight needs to be on my partner until I establish the pass, right? So I'm here driving, right? My head gets to the far shoulder. I use the side of my face, okay? Like so. I get to my knees, and then from here, I can start to establish hip control. I can start to progress my grips and control and climb up to the side control, right? So once again, I'm here, right? Stance, I have a good stance, okay? I'm feeling what's overextended. Look, his legs are in front of his arms right now, right? From here, it may not look like it, but if you look over the top, you're gonna notice the feet are in front. So that's what's in front. So I'm here, I make my grip, I grab the collar, okay? Now I cut my angle. The moment I can, like I said, I can nudge him in this point to feel where he's at. I make my angle. The moment I'm angling, I'm pulling. The side of my face is aiming for his shoulder. I'm not using my forehead necessarily. The side of my face. I'm pulling because if I use my forehead, look how I can't use my left shoulder. If I use the side of my face, look how I can use my left shoulder now. And I'll be able to land here in the side control. Try to get one more angle, maybe you're right here. Here, move back just a little bit more. I'm here, leg, collar, cut my angle, look, side of my face engages my left shoulder. Then I can land here in the side control. And I will keep these grips until I've passed this knee line, Once I pass the knee line, I cover the hips, I can start pretty aggressive to the head, and then establish my side control. So I'll do the move really quickly, and we can move on to the next. So for the next horizontal that we're going to be doing, it's going to be the same move, but now we're going to work in when our partner is posting, okay? Now this is a very important concept in jiu-jitsu when we're passing. If our partner is ever posting their hand on the ground, okay, two things are happening. First thing is they're giving up their frames, okay? So I have to understand that when I'm here, so stand for me, honey. I'll go to this side. If he's passing and I decide to post my arm, okay, I'm giving up my frame. So what he wants to do is he wants to keep passing to the side to corral that arm to eventually make it so heavy that I have to fall, okay? The pro to this as the guard player is that when I'm posting my arm and he makes these grips, I give the illusion that my body's forward, okay? But when my body's forward like this, all my weight's on this arm. So that makes it very hard for him to monitor this leg. So when we talk about the backdoor pass in the previous portion, he would want to pull, right, to make my leg heavy. But if I'm posting on my arm and he thinks that he can pass to this side, if he goes to this side, watch what's going to happen. He's going to block me with this leg. Okay, either by blocking or by hooking. Best case scenario for him would be to hook. So if he goes to the side and hook, look how I could eventually maybe get to my guard. I can start to get under him and establish my grips, right? So we have to understand that whenever they're posting, it gives the illusion that the back door is available, but it's not the best option. And if he had two legs here like this is when it gets really dangerous, because if he starts to go to the side, I can collar drag him. Okay, so we have to understand that concept as well. That's personally why when I'm passing the seated guard, from his perspective, I'd rather have the collar and the pants, because if he has both legs right here, the collar drag is always available because he has no anchor to my upper body. So I can always do something like this and maybe face plant him, right? So it's important we understand that concept. So when I'm here passing with Hani, right? When he decides to, when I make my steering wheel grips, when he decides to post that back arm, I do not want to go to this side, because if I go to this side, look how easily he can block me. So what am I going to do? I'm going to crowd the space on that side. So when he posts that arm and I start to make my angle, what I'm going to do is by pulling my grips is going to put more weight on that arm. So when I pull and I drive my head to the shoulder, it's really important that as I cut the angle, I lift this leg off the floor. When I lift this leg off the floor, I'm putting more weight in that arm. I can still run this side down and pull a little bit in the collar, but if I'm not pulling this leg, like, he's just going to follow me all day. Look. So when I go here and I cut my angle, I'm going to lift this leg. Because when I lift this leg and drive the side of my face to his shoulder, look how I'm going to be able to run it down. So stay heavy in your arm, honey. So watch what I'm going to do. As I lift up this bottom leg, when I create my angle, he has to constantly adjust and follow me, right? If I drive in straight like this, he can kind of stay here. But every time I move, look how he has to start to adjust his arm. And every time he adjusts his arm, it allows me to bend it even more, even more, even more. And eventually what this does is it lets me run down that arm. And the con to him posting an arm is that when he's posting it and I run it down, his frames are delayed. So the chances of him getting to my shoulder before I drop my shoulder to his chest are much more difficult, right? It's much more difficult for him to get his frames. So I love when people post. So I'm here, even for now, let's say you don't have the collar grip, right? If he has a collar grip, it's the same thing, but just so you can see better, let's turn here. I've made my steering wheel grips. He decides to post. Don't go to this side. Don't go to the collar side. Go to the arm side. We lift up this leg. We drive the side of our face to his shoulder, and I run it down. Let's say he's posting and following me. Look, I keep running it down. Keep running it down. Keep running it down. Look, and eventually, this helps me land into the perfect spot to pass. Okay? So now let's do it with a couple angles here. Let's do it from square so they can see your arm. So let's say I make my grips. He starts posting. Look, I cut my angle. drive my side of my face to his shoulder, I lift and I run it down. Look, I run it down. I'll stand here. I get my steering wheel grips, he posts, look, I run it down. I run it down. So this concept of them posting, we can apply it everywhere. Even when I have the collar, later on when we review the collar side, when he posts the arm, we apply the same concept. So now what we're going to be reviewing with the front door toreando is when our partner successfully gets a frame as we cut the angle, right? So when I'm here with Hani and I get my steering wheel grips, right? As soon as I cut an angle here, what he's going to do is he's going to frame my far shoulder, okay? Which is the correct thing for him to do, right? Because he knows that when I pass to the side, I need to drop this shoulder. So as soon as I cut this angle and he falls to his back, generally my partner wants to be on his side. The more he's on his side, the easier it's going to be for him to pummel his legs. Me as the guard passer, I want him flat on his back, because when he's flat on his back, it's easier for me to either A, pull his legs from his chest, or in some scenarios, push his legs in that direction, right? So once I get Hani here on his back, he's all in on this shoulder, I'm going to pull with my grips and I'm going to put him on his shoulder, right? So I'm going to apply my frame riding concept or the pivoting point concept, but also use that, lock it in, and put him on his back now. Now you notice when he's on his back, like I talked about, this leg becomes weaker. So what I'm going to do, can you move around, Hani, just for the sake, perfect. So and you can frame hard with this one, yes. So when I'm here, I'm going to create a wedge to get into what I like to call the pass box. So the pass box is the space separating his torso from his knee, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my knee as a wedge, like so, to open up that space. Now, even though I open up the space, one thing I don't want to do here is go knee on belly. Because when I go knee on belly, what happens is my chest goes up and I lose pressure. And now it's easier for him to throw the leg. Now, in some instances, I'll use this move. And if I feel that they've given up on their frames and their legs go down, maybe yes, I'll land a knee on belly. But generally, as a finishing point, especially against a better guard, I don't like to do knee on belly. So what I like to do, instead of going for knee on belly, is when I use this wedge, okay? Notice how he's all in on the shoulder. You can go back to the shoulder now. He's all in on the shoulder. I've cleared the knee line, but what's the last thing stopping me? It's just frames on my left shoulder. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop my right shoulder now. So look what I'm going to do. I'm going to drop my right knee, my right hip, and my right shoulder to the side. Look. Notice how I use my shoulders to deflect his frame, right? So my hip and my elbow, my shoulder all kind of fall on at once. And now I'm here able to land in the side control, right? So once again, when he's here, I've made my steering wheel grips, okay? As I cut my angle, he gets the frame, and that's fine. He's already accepted. When he gets the frame, he's already accepted, like, okay, I'm gonna go to my back. And that's fine, I want him on his back. When I'm here, okay, as he starts to fall, look, I know he's got this frame. I know I'm not going to beat it, right? My head, though, the side of my face is still aiming for that shoulder, okay? I'm not like this. I'm not over him. I'm still lasering that shoulder with my side of my face. So as I'm here, as I'm pulling, I want to put him on his back. Now I want to get my knee in front of his knee, because when he's on his back, he's weak. So I use my knee as a wedge to open up the pass box, okay? Now you can put your foot, yep, your hand back on my frame, perfect. Now, I drop my right shoulder. Look, I'll even let go of the pant grip because I already killed this knee. And as I get my right shoulder, my right hip to the ground, I establish this hip control. And then from here, later on, even if he has like his frames here, if he's still on the shoulder, look, later on here, it's much easier to deflect. I can grab his tricep, I can go over, under, little by little, starting to secure and climbing up the body to then later on isolate the limbs and then get submissions from here. All right, so let's do it from that angle one more time quickly, and we'll do another angle and we'll move on to the next. Let's try this side. So for this next sequence, my partner is gonna hip escape to prevent me from putting him directly on his back, which is gonna open up different opportunities to pass. The first opportunity that's gonna present itself is the knee slice, right? So when I'm here with Hani, and I get the steering wheel grips, right? When I start to cut my angle, Hani, just like before, is gonna successfully get his frame. So as I start to cut this angle, Hani's gonna go here, exactly. And remember our concept here, we're on our toes, we're pulling, we're engaging our back, our lats, everything, right? Now what I'm gonna do is as I start to put him flat in his back, it's gonna be easier for me to use my knee wedge, right? To get the knee inside. But what Hani's gonna do to prevent that is he needs to find a way to turn onto his side, like this. So he's gonna use the back leg to aid that. So he's gonna be hip escaping, right? What's the purpose of a hip escape? The purpose of a hip escape is obviously to create distance, but it's also to recover the bottom knee line, right? So if I were to get him in side control right now, he uses the back leg to what? Recover the bottom knee. But in order to get his bottom knee in, the entry point can't be while he's directly in his back. He has to be on his side. So we're gonna apply that same, by understanding that in reverse, knowing that he has to get on his side to recover the knee line, that's when we're gonna smash the knee line down with the knee slide. So as I'm here, right, I wanna put him flat in the back, Hani decides to hip escape, look. So if I were to try to run him down, I may be here all day, look. He'll just be hipping and hipping and hipping and hipping. And I may never ever hip and go more on your side. Yeah, exactly. And I may never get inside that inside knee space, because like I said before, the more he's on his side, the stronger this knee comes in, right? So when I go for the Toriano pass, when he decides to hip escape, the moment I feel that knee get heavy, I'm gonna help him push it to the ground. I'm just going in the direction that his knee's already aiming for. So as I pin the leg to the ground, okay, while I'm putting all my weight into his frames, okay, frame riding, I'm gonna drop my right knee to the floor and create that wedge getting into that pass box that we were talking about before, like so, okay? So when I get to the knee slice, there are so many different ways to pass the knee slide pass. There's so many different styles. I'm not gonna go into too many details on the knee slice right now. We're gonna go over a more basic option just because this series, we're gonna be more focused on the footwork aspect, okay? But just so we have a basic understanding of finishing it, generally what I'll do is the knee slide is if I have the tricep or the collar, I'll usually get one or the other, okay? My head's always gonna lean over the far shoulder, like this. So as he has his frame here, if I can get the collar grip, I lean my head over the far shoulder, because what am I doing? I'm putting him flat in his back. This hand now, I have the collar, I could go here, I could go to the ribs, and I'm just gonna deflect my right shoulder, watch. I'm gonna deflect it outward to bend his arm. I can even get the shoulder on the side of his elbow to clear his frame. Now look, now I go chest on chest. Once I've bent his arm like this, I can get the underhook, reach around the neck, pull the head towards me, shoulder driving under the chin, apply that pressure, and slice through. Once I slice through, we walk the hips back to our partner's hips and land in side control, okay? So, once again on the setup here, steering wheel grips, right? I go to the side, he frames. What do I wanna do? I want him flat in his back. So I start to frame ride, but as I do, he hip escapes. When I feel him hip escape, his bottom knee's heavy. I push the knee to the ground, my right knee goes to the floor. Look where my head is immediately. It's over this far shoulder, okay? So as I'm here, he gets the frame, okay? Generally what I can do is if he gets the frame on my bicep, I'll try to, I can go, if I wanna cut right through, I could do this with this tricep. Some people like to do that. But generally what I like to do is I like to get the collar. So I'll do a little bit of deflection here, over, under, grab the double collar, right? Or sorry, the second collar. Sometimes I can open my elbow out to get under here, right? I can also go to the ribs. He's got a strong frame, get a strong frame from behind. I'm gonna drive my shoulder, look, over his elbow, like this. When I do this, look, it forces him to bend his arm. Because obviously when I crush, he's not just gonna let his arm hang out here, right? When I start to crush, he's gonna bend his arm. Look, when I start to bend his arm, look, I look back to the shoulder, I get my elbow under his elbow, I walk my hand up, I get an underhook here, reach on the neck, shoulder under the chin, I apply that pressure, and then I pass. Right? So one more time on the knee slide. We're here. Toriando. Frame riding, I'm putting the pressure, flattening the back, he starts shrimping. Once I feel it shrimp, I push the bottom knee down, drive my knee to the floor, create that wedge, head over the far shoulder always. My head goes here, look how easily he'll get the knee shield, right? I need to be leaning over that far shoulder. This hand now, look, I want to get the collar grip, right? If he's framing good with this arm, look, I just deflect, go over, under, open my elbow, he follows my bicep, look how I can leave my hand. I can go double collar, look, I can open my elbow, get this underhook here. Or another option sometimes, I can go to the ribs, or if I feel like this leg is really active, I can like block it with my hand in the ribs. Now look, I'm just gonna deflect my shoulder. Right, deflecting the shin, get a stronger frame for me. Over, look, I force him to bend his arm. I look back to the shoulder. I'm gonna get under his elbow, flatten his back to the ground, cup the shoulder, control the neck, shoulder under the chin, put that pressure, and then you can slice him out. Okay? So do it one more time from this angle a little bit faster. So for this next one, we're going to be reviewing how to address when my partner uses his knee shield, right? So when we were talking before, I generally want to get my partner flat on their back. My partner wants to find a way to get onto his side, because when he gets onto his side, he's able to utilize his leg mobility and his pummeling much easier than when he's on his back, right? So when I'm here, honey, and I go for the guard pass, okay? Number one is to keep him on his back, get the knee and then the inside space, right? He hip escapes, right? He gets the bottom knee inside, that's when I go knee slide, right? Now, as soon as he hip escapes, right, he's gonna feel that I'm gonna be doing a good job by killing the bottom knee. So what he's gonna have to do is replace it with the top knee, right? So, as soon as I get him here, and he starts to hip escape, look, he's gonna feel that I'm killing the bottom leg. He's gonna start to bring the top leg inside. So what he's doing is he's overextending the top leg, right? So when I feel that overextension, just like anything we were talking about, that's when I have to take advantage of it and start to pass to the other side, right? So when I feel this top leg come in, what I'm gonna do is still applying my frame riding concept. So I'm still lifting up this bottom leg right now, because when I do, I put more weight into his frames. I'm pulling. So what I'm gonna do is while I have this collar grip, I'm gonna get my elbow in the crook of his knee, okay? So when I feel that leg come in, look, I use my elbow to start to push his leg down. So as soon as I push the leg down, I'm now gonna switch my shoulders to step my right leg over it. And I wanna staple his leg to the ground, right? One really important thing here when I'm going for this type of position, when it comes to leg drags and folding passes, is I always want to make sure my knee is on top of his leg until I get past this knee line here. So like this. So for example, I'm in the leg weave folding pass scenario. This leg is bothering me, right? I'm not gonna put my leg on the floor or start moving until I've killed this leg. So this leg's in my way, watch. I'm gonna keep pinning this leg down with my leg because it allows me to put more weight on his body, okay? If I were to put my knee on the floor right now, look how he can start to open this leg and off balance me. And obviously if I put it behind, that wouldn't be good either. So I make sure I'm here, I'm on the side of my foot generating pressure. What I'm gonna do is when he has this knee open, I'm gonna be pulling this leg up, driving over him, and I'm gonna use my elbow to push his knee down like this. Now if I can get the knee down, look how I'm gonna get into that pass box space, watch. See how I'm using my chin as a wedge, separating his knee from his chest, right? So once I use my chin as a wedge, my right arm now, I'm gonna use my elbow to go behind his back, and I'm gonna switch to either a belt grip, or I'm gonna grab the skirt or the pants. So let's jump here. So the grip that I'm gonna make here, as soon as I clear the knee line, right, I'm using my chin over, I reach my arm basically as deep as I can. Because the deeper that I have my arm, the more I can twist his body and engage my shoulder, okay? So how I grip is very important. I go thumb down, I twist my thumb like this, because what this allows me to do is allows me to drop my shoulder to generate more pressure. So either A, I can grab the belt low, on the other side, I can grab the skirt or the pants. If I had to choose one, I really like to grab the skirt, okay? Right, and once I get the skirt, because I cleared his knee line, right, I twist my palm down like this, and I'm gonna drive my shoulder to his chest and my head into his shoulder. The same concept we were talking about before. When we pass, we always bring our head to the far shoulder. So I'm gonna be doing this. Okay, so I can generate more pressure. Once I start to generate this pressure, then I can start to put my bottom knee onto the floor, right? So if you have the visual here, let's turn to this side, right? I start twisting, I put my knee, I'm gonna use my left hand now, push this knee down. Look, now I can start to really put pressure on my partner. Twisting my palm, okay, driving my head to the shoulder. And generally what they'll do, look how I'm also on the side of my foot. This is very important whenever we're passing. I'm never on the flats of my feet, because look at my knee. That means I'm not driving pressure. I'm on the side of my foot here, I can put a lot of weight in my partner. Right, now generally they'll have like a frame here on my shoulder, just push my shoulder here, exactly. Now what I like to do is if I can either grab the collar or pummel under and grab his tricep. Okay, this is gonna be very ideal. Now I put my pressure with my shoulder into his sternum. I'm gonna turn my knee inside like this. So I push out the top leg, and I also have a wider base with my knee. I can hook, do like a little windshield wiper. Now my hips go up, pressure on my shoulder, and I'm just gonna walk back into the side control. Right. Here are my toes, my knees on the floor. Right, so once again, let's do this. Here, 1, 2, I start to cut my angle, he gets the frame. I wanna put him on his back, he starts shrimping. He brings the top leg in to recover. Right, as I'm here, look how I'm putting pressure with my left shoulder. Now I'm gonna use my elbow on the crook of his knee, step behind, and I'm gonna pin his leg to the floor. Look, my knee doesn't go to the floor, I'm pinning the bottom leg. Because what this does, like I said, it puts a lot of weight on his body. And now from here, I can just use the collar grip to close my elbow and clear the knee shield, watch. And as soon as I do this, I don't need it all the way down. I just need it down enough to get my chin over. Once I get my chin over that space, now I reach behind the back and get a low skirt grip, right? I twist my palm down using my thumb like this, and I'm gonna drop my shoulder to his chest and my head to the shoulder. Now when I get this pressure, I use my left hand, I wanna push his knee to the ground. Or I'm gonna push his knee down, my leg to the ground, like this. Once I've cleared that knee line, now I can focus on the upper body, because his legs are out of the way. So now I can get to the collar if I want, or generally if I can weave around this arm and grab the tricep, this is my ideal control. Shoulder to the sternum, head in the far shoulder. I turn my right knee inside so I have base. Here, if you notice here, look, I feel like there's a lot more weight on this leg. I feel like I can't windshield wiper. If I turn my knee inside, look how this leg becomes light. Now I can windshield wiper around, knee down, foot over, hook, hips up. I walk to the back door. As I walk to the back door, I pull the arm towards me with my shoulder heavy on his chest. And then I land in side control. All right? So let's do one more time, maybe this angle here. Same angle? Yeah. Same angle, let's do this. Better here? Here. Here, one more time, so I get the steering wheel grips. Look, he gets the frame. I start very heavy with my shoulder. I run him down, shrimps. And then he brings the top leg instead of the bottom leg. As I'm here, I close my elbow, step over, I pin the bottom leg, use my elbow to close it, chin over the knee, reach behind the back, twist, shoulder to the chest, head to the shoulder. Now my knee goes to the ground. As I'm here, I deflect, tricep, head to shoulder, knee inside. Now look how this leg's very light. Hook, hips up, walk. He becomes my pivoting point as I'm switching sides. And then I want side control. All right, so do one more time. Let's do it, we'll do it faster, this angle here. So now, off of the knee shield reaction, we're gonna pass the back door when our partner doesn't let us collapse the knee line, right? So when I'm here with Hani, and I get to my Toriano grips, right? I try to clear the knee, he shrimps, he brings the bottom leg inside. I'm gonna use my elbow. Remember, I keep the weight in his frame, keep the weight in his frame. I use my elbow to collapse his leg, and I drop my knee to the floor, right? Or sorry, I drop my knee to his thigh. Now, a very common scenario that happens here, that if I can't clear his knee line, oftentimes they'll be able to find a way to frame the shoulder like this and open his knee. Okay, so if he opens his knee, look how it's going to be impossible for me to get the folding pass, because there's no way for me to get around his knee line here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to maintain the grips that I already have, right? And I'm going to pull myself into his frame. Where's his frame here? His frame's going to be on my shoulder, but also it's going to be on his knee, right? So his knee and his arms become my pivoting point. So remember, we're on the side of our feet here. I'm pulling myself in like this, right? And as I feel the resistance happens, look what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna use his frames to maneuver to the other side. And I'm also gonna use my left hand to pivot down this bottom leg as well. Pivot off the bottom leg as well. So as I'm here, look, I pull myself in, he opens the knee, I pin down the bottom leg, and I'm gonna rotate off of his frames. Maneuvering here to the side. Now, when I get to the side, it's very important to note, if he's framing, I'm the whole time, I'm pulling myself, frame a little hard, please. Yep, like frame with your arms here, really, yeah. Look how I'm pulling myself into his frames. You see that? See my angle here, right? And even here, look, I'm perpendicular with him, but I'm generally leaning over the shoulder as well, look, like this. So when I'm here in this position, I'm still monitoring this leg, okay? I don't want it to pummel, right? I don't want him to start pummeling here. So if I can pin it, ideally I will. If he starts to pummel, look, I'm gonna fall with my elbow, look, like this. Now, what I'm gonna do is as I have this knee line here, this is the last thing stopping me, other than his arms. I'm gonna use both my knees to pinch, and I'm gonna use my right leg now to punch this leg down. Now, as I punch this leg down, I get into that pass box again. My left leg comes in front to replace it, and now I'm gonna drop my left shoulder once again, right to the side control, doing the shoulder deflection that we did before, because he's all in on one shoulder. That allows me to, once I've cleared the knee line, drop the other shoulder. Now I land here in the side control, on the side of my foot, applying a lot of pressure, work to control the head, and then establish a dominant side control, right? So once again, I'm here, I make my steering wheel grips, I go for the Toriano, he gets the frame, okay? I want to run him down, he starts to shrimp, he gets the top leg inside to replace the bottom leg. I close my elbow, I trap, now he opens under my armpit. Super strong frame when they can get under armpit. So when I'm here, look, I'm not able to pull myself in anymore. And look how it's impossible for me to get around his knee line. If I let go of this collar, that's one thing we never do when we're passing, is we never want to let go of the grips that we already have when we have momentum and we're in the battle. Because if I let go of this to do something like this, he's gonna start off balancing me and then recovering, right? So I want to make sure that I maintain the grips that I have. So I have these grips, okay, it's fine, I'll make do with what I got. He's got this knee open. I'm gonna pull my weight into his frames, creating that pivoting point, okay? Now once I created the pivoting point, I'm gonna rotate off of his frame, but also my arm that's pinning down the bottom leg. I'm gonna go here, watch. I pull, and I pivot, right? The more weight that I put in the pivoting point, the faster I move because my legs are light. So now that I'm here, he's got the frame, I'm pulling myself with my face at our shoulder, okay? And I'm actively, watch, actively monitoring this leg. Maybe I can pin it. Maybe he starts pummeling. Look, oh, elbow open. I'll go elbow, here close. I'm monitoring this leg so you can't get a frame because he only has his frames here with his leg and his knee. So once I do this, I pinch my knees, I punch this leg down, I get my left leg in front now to buy me enough time to do what? Drop the shoulder that's totally free. Once I go hip to hip, I'm on the side of this foot here, and I establish a super dominant side control, right? So once again, here, I get my steering wheel grips, I'm going to the front door now. I go, watch, run it down. Here, he opens under my armpit, I pull, I create that pivoting point. Get the frame of the shoulder to you. Here, look, I can't go anymore. So what does that mean? He's carrying all my weight, now I can pivot. Use my knees, pull myself to that far shoulder, strong feet please. Now you punch my knees, use my knees to punch, leg in front, drop the shoulder, and land in my side control with my hips switched. All right, so let's do a couple angles. Do this, and this. Go here. Do the same one. So for the next technique we're going to be going over, you're going to see this in generally two scenarios. One, if you're able to just about successfully beat the frame and the person overcommits their leg because of a panic, or B, just because a person may have a strong frame, but they're more flexible. Okay, so this is going to happen in these two different scenarios. So when I'm here in the Toreando, oftentimes what happens is when I get my steering wheel grips, right? Sometimes if I beat my partner's frame, right? Or maybe he gets a frame, but it's very bent. Let's say it's about here, right? He doesn't have time to get his leg under, so they oftentimes struggle to the leg over, like this. Or sometimes he gets a full-on frame, okay? And I see the leg starting to come over like this. Exactly. And oftentimes they'll get the leg over my shoulder, or sometimes they'll even clip their heel, right? Like right here on my shoulder. Generally though, what I'm gonna do, I call it the forklift pass, right? It's basically a knee slide, but I wanna be just cutting through, even though the top leg's on my way, I wanna be cutting through his guard to end up in the side control, right? For the pass. So generally what happens is as I go for the Toreando, right? And they throw the whole leg over like this, okay? Or they even step on my shoulder, it's fine. I'm gonna go for a knee slide. So what I'm gonna do is, the reason why the knee slide is so powerful to deflect this leg is because it helps me utilize my chest more, right? And when I use my chest, right, engaging my thoracic, oftentimes things will slide off. If I'm hunkered down like this, things will catch easier, right? It'll be easier to frame me because there's just more edges on my body to catch with your limbs. But if I use my chest like this, I can start to deflect and things will start to slide and I can land in better passing positions, right? So when he gets the frame and he throws the leg over, oftentimes if he throws it exactly, what I'm gonna do is I'm immediately gonna go for the knee slide like this, dropping my knee to the floor and going side foot here. So there's a couple different grips that I can get. I can go for the collar. Oftentimes though, they're gonna give me the tricep because they're gonna be framing my shoulder. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab his tricep, right, like this, and look how I'm gonna straighten my back and my chest, all right, to force his leg to slide. Notice how his heel slid off. If his leg's already over, then I'm in the clear. But if his leg's here, like I'm gonna have to use my chest even more, watch. So it slides, now look where it ends up, past my shoulder. So if I wanna get the pass here, it's gonna be very hard if I'm looking towards the far shoulder in this scenario, right? Because the leg's in my way. Like even if I do this, look, I'm just supporting his leg. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cancel out his leg. How am I gonna do that? I'm gonna get in the same line as it. So once I cut my leg, my knees on the floor, I'm gonna take my foot out of the knee slide and I'm gonna start to look towards his back hip. So very similarly, when we go for passes, right, looking to the shoulder, if we start to cut our angle diagonally a little bit, almost like we're going north-south, but not quite, that's when we're gonna look towards the far hip. So when I have the tricep here, look what I'm gonna do. I release this foot and I'm gonna look to the back hip. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not going north-south. I'm not running around, because if I do that, I'm gonna allow him to get his legs back and it's gonna start a scramble. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pivot off this side leg or my side foot and look towards his back hip. So, let's do here a little bit. Look towards his back hip and look how I'm gonna be able to slide this leg off. And while I have this tricep grip, I'm gonna be able to land right here in the side control. His frames are gonna be super off and super weak, right? So, once again, even when I'm here, like I said, let's say I beat the frame, or let's say I cut the angle of my head to the shoulder and he barely gets a frame. Look, then this is gonna, if your timing is really good on this is gonna create that over-exaggerated response as well, because he doesn't have his arms to keep the distance, so he has to use his leg. This is when I'll get even deeper, but I'll still go for the knee slide here and grab his tricep if I can, all right? I don't, in this specific scenario, there's exceptions to the rule, but sometimes I'll go thigh drag and go to the back door, but the reason why I don't go thigh drag by catching this leg and switching sides is because I have the collar. If I have the collar, I'm gonna try and keep it, because if I have to grip switch, like I stated before, sometimes that can start to scramble and make a disconnection. So if I can do a pass maintaining the same grips, this is a big concept and a big detail you have to focus on when you're passing, right? So when I'm here, he has the leg over, that's fine. He's training my shoulder, that's okay. I grab the tricep, I use my chest, okay? Because I can't really get that, I can't really pivot and turn if I'm not using my chest. So I get my chest here first, like this. Now I pivot off my knee, my right knee, looking towards the back hip, and look how the leg falls. And I can land here in the side control. All right? So once again here, so like I said, there's two scenarios. Sometimes they get a full-on frame and they're flexible, or sometimes you beat it and they just panic and they say, I gotta throw something in the way so I can slow them down. And that's when you'll get that whole leg reaction as well, right? So I'm here, boom, I get my steering wheel grips, I go, boom, even he gets the frame. Look, as soon as I see this leg like coming over, look, I'm gonna immediately, I regress a little bit, I step behind the leg and I drop my knee to the floor and I use my chest on the side of the foot. Look at this, side foot here. Like I said, usually they're framing with this hand, right? They have to be. So I'm gonna be grabbing the tricep. I lock out both my grips, chest. Now I pivot off my right knee to look towards the back hip. To cancel off that leg and then land in the side control. All right, so let's do a couple angles here. So let's go start with right here. Let's do this way maybe. So that for now, when I go for the pass, just like have your arms like back a little bit so that the whole leg goes there better for the demonstration. So now we're gonna work a backdoor option off of the forklift pass. So when I'm here at the Toreando, we got the steering wheel grips, we're still in the front door series. I go here, he throws his leg over, and I go for the forklift. So oftentimes when I get to the forklift pass, right, like I said, most of the time you'll be able to get the tricep because they're gonna be all in on framing the shoulder or bicep. So when I go here, what I'm gonna do is as I get the tricep, remember, we wanna pivot off, we wanna go on the side foot, we wanna pivot off our knee to throw this leg off, okay? What happens oftentimes is as I start to lift this arm and pick up this leg, they're gonna make their left leg really heavy, okay? So when I do this and I feel like I can't lift the leg, right? If I feel like I can't lift the leg, I know that I can get my chin over his knee because he's dropping that, he's making that knee heavy. So if I try to lift and I feel like I can't, make your leg a little heavier, honey. Yeah, like this. Look, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna now drop my right shoulder and get my chin over his knee, like this, okay? And it will replace this collar grip. So I had the collar grip here, As I drop my chin down, look, I let go of the collar grip, and my chin replaces where that grip was. Now this hand is gonna reach to the back. Okay? Now when it gets to the back, we're gonna do the same mechanics as the folding pass that we did previously. So when we get here, I need to make sure I get my thumb as deep as I can, twisting my palm, my thumb down like this, getting my head, my side of my face to this shoulder, applying that concept. Watch. Now that I'm here, look how easy it's gonna be for me to walk to the back door. I just have to make sure that this knee can't get under me. We have to go here. Look. Hips up, walk it back, and land in side control. Okay? So once again, front door, he throws the whole leg, I go for the knee slide, I drop it to the floor, I grab the tricep. Okay? Let's turn here a little bit. So I'm here, I feel like, you know what, I can lift this leg. Okay, if I feel like I can lift this leg, that's my cue to release the bottom leg and look to the hip. Okay? But if I feel like this leg gets really heavy, like he just hammers it down super hard, I feel like I can't, then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get my chin over his knee and I take out the collar grip. And I reach behind the back. Thumb down, shoulder on the sternum, side face on his shoulder, my left foot, side foot, hips up, and I'll walk it back and land in the side control on your toes. Okay? One more time. Here, boom, forklift, lift. I feel like it's like super heavy. Make it a little heavier for me, honey. Go on your right hip a little more. Yeah. Yes. Look, especially when he goes on that right hip. So I go here, he goes heavy, chin over, replace the collar grip with the hand. Sorry, with the head. Reach behind the back, twist palm down, side facing the shoulder, hips up, walk it back. And side control. So this one. Back just a little bit.